Hi, welcome to Tacoma's Elder Care Channel. My name is Bob Michaels, and I'm here today with Lisa Doyle of K-Care Elder Care and Senior Living Advisors. I'm an elder law and estate planning lawyer in Tacoma, Washington. I'm with a firm by the name of Smith Alling, located in downtown Tacoma, Washington. Again, today we're here talking about elder care and placement advisory services. And Lisa, again, you're with a company called K-Care. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself first and then about K-Care?
Absolutely. So my name is Lisa Doyle. I'm a registered nurse and healthcare advocate and also a geriatric care manager. I have been working in this community and had K-Care since 2005. I am the founder, and we provide two divisions of service. We have geriatric care management and a referral agency.
For those who are watching, Lisa, would you just describe kind of a standard scenario in which someone may call you, or someone, under what circumstance would they call you, and how you would address that?
Absolutely. It's actually hard to describe in one case. You could be in a hospital, in a skilled nursing home, or in your own home, wherever that may be, and things are changing. A lot of times people first get in contact with us because of a care need has increased. The spouse maybe or a family member has been caring for someone, or you've been caring for yourself, and suddenly you're not able to anymore. That's often how people first get in connection with us. Could be through the fire department, the hospital, or just calling us directly. A lot of times people have had a fall, but it doesn't have to be that. In fact, we'd prefer it not to be that. We would like you to talk to us directly when you've already realized on your own that something's changed.
Now, in your experience, do you mainly get calls from seniors themselves, or is it family members, or who does your call primarily originate from?
That's a really good question. A lot of times it's estate planners and financial planners, or some professional service where the family has met with them and they're trying to figure out what the finances are. They're the ones that often acknowledge the service need. But family members call a lot of times. It's usually not the actual parents, I'm sad to say, but there are some out there, but usually it's a family member who's just worried about someone.
All right, so they call your number. You're located here in Pierce County.
That's correct.
Do you take the call? Do you have an office person take the call, or how does that work?
Well, that's kind of what's unique about us. We have a wonderful clinical team. You'll probably talk to Bonnie or Shara in our office. And you will call our toll-free number, which is 866-337-1176, and they will go and do a thorough intake with you. We have so many services that we can provide to families, most of them being free, that we want to do a complete intake so we could determine what's the best action for families. I should also mention that a lot of times families will call thinking they need one thing, and in reality they need another thing. So a lot of times families will call because they need help with a caregiver, and then in reality they can't afford that option, or that option isn't enough. So we have to either help the family develop a care plan on our geriatric care management side, or we have to determine if there's a better option through placement that will be more affordable. And we don't make those decisions for the families. We empower the families to make those decisions on their own. That's what we do every day.
Super. Now, if someone were to call you, whether it be the senior themselves or a family member, what type of information should they gather prior to calling?
You know, a lot of times the families just give us the basic information. What would be helpful if you were planning ahead is to have medical information, just the basics, enough that we can kind of figure out up front what would be the best resources. And then on the back side, you want to know a basic understanding of your finances. But I have to say, Bob, that's one of the reasons why a lot of times estate planning attorneys, elder law attorneys are involved, is because the family isn't quite sure. It's not very common that that child knows what mom and dad's finances are. Sometimes the mom and dad don't even know. And so getting an elder law attorney involved and getting the big picture, that information combined with something like one of our services, which is a care analysis, allows the best cost of care determination, which helps us help you. So knowing the right financial information is always helpful, but not necessary.
Super. Now, if someone were just in an immediate, or say an emergency circumstance, and they are just puzzled, they don't know who to call, they don't even know the type of service that they really need, how would you describe the topic sentence that you do and that they should think about when they're trying to figure out who they should call?
Well, I should mention, first of all, most of our cases, probably 75 to 80% of all of our cases are crisis cases. Most of the time they know they're in crisis. Some of the time they're not even aware at that point when they call us. So what you're trying to determine is you would call us if you're not sure what the next step is, because if we're not the right next step, that's what our resource specialists, when you call, that's what they do. They literally will figure out what resources would be best and plug you right into them. And so if you're not sure, just calling is a good place to start. But you kind of want to have an idea of your questions. Do you want placement, home care, and kind of an idea of what would be most affordable? I hadn't talked much about the care management piece, but some people will use the care manager to figure out what the best recommendations would be.
Super. And do you discuss finances? In other words, if someone, say mom has to go into a skilled nursing facility, I hear that costs a whole bunch of money. How are you going to pay for that? How do you address that?
Well, first of all, the basic question, we're in the medical field, is we're going to just find out if they have a clear understanding of what their budget is and what's reasonable and affordable, especially if it's a couple, so that the other person doesn't become destitute by getting the care they need. And then we talk about all the options with them, but if they're, which often the case is, there's properties, annuities, a mixture, and they're not quite sure what to do next, that's when we're going to plug them into someone like you.
Great, thank you. It's always a challenge, and it's a challenge within a setting, like you said, mainly in a crisis setting where people really are troubled about where to turn and how to do that. And everybody knows that anything to do with healthcare nowadays is expensive, and figuring out how to pay for that, as well as just figuring out what to do, is a difficult place to be in. And companies like yours exist to guide us through these things, and we're certainly glad that you're here. Would you talk about, let's say in Pierce County, how many companies like yours exist, and do you market, so if someone wanted to come to a seminar or find out more about you and others in Pierce County, how would they do that?
Absolutely. Well, you can always go to our website, which is www.caycare.com. In 2014, we will be offering several caregiving classes, and as those are available, they'll be posted on our website. As far as finding us, really anywhere in the community, we come in person: Pierce, King, Thurston, Kitsap, Snohomish County. I actually forgot your question, Bob.
So did I. No. I was wondering about the number of people who are...
other kinds of... Okay. So we're a unique company for referral and care management. There are a couple, but for referral agencies, there's about 5 in Pierce County. There's, I think, 30 of all kinds. And the thing about referral agencies in the state of Washington is there is a law about them, but the law is very basic in the front line. So a lot of families don't get the hands-on that we use, and they definitely don't get the clinical approach that we have. And so, like I said, there's probably about 30. The care management side in Pierce, I'm only aware of 2. Our company and one other one. There might be a couple of others that tiptoe into our county, but mostly I would say it's the 2 of us. And care management is a very loose term, so I want to touch on that at least for a moment, if that's okay with you.
Let's do that. You bet.
So I kind of joke because using the word care management is a lot like using the word nurse. As a registered nurse, I specialize in care management, elderly geriatrics. I have some little side in working with brain injury, that kind of thing. In care management, care managers can be in the hospital, and they're nurses for the most part, although some of ours are social workers. And their role is to really be a support advocate for a family, so in an individual specifically. So I love using examples for care management in our company. In Pierce County, we have a close relationship with Adult Protective Services and the fire department, among all the other medical fields. So physicians sometimes will refer to us, fire department and the Adult Protective Services. Families who have thrown their hands in the air, they don't know what to do next with a loved one. They've gotten all their legal stuff in order, but they still can't get mom safe. Geriatric care manager is a professional. Their job is to help the family, work well with that loved one, but also just to help work with the loved one themselves to get them on board for whatever it is. Empower them, get some safety, plug them into resources, and give reports to family. The other thing that they can really do is if family, even if they live close by, it's always easier from a professional. Just like you do better when the doctor tells you to take your medications rather than when your spouse does. It's just the way we work. So having that professional in there and really supporting the family is what we do.
Super. I know in our profession, for example, I'll have somebody either in a crisis situation or in a pre-planning.
Right.
And quite often the question will come, well, what options exist for care for mom or dad, or where we place them, and what are the costs associated, and mechanically how does that operate?
Right.
We lawyers focus on the law. Lawyers focus on advising with regards to their estate planning and with regards to their crisis planning. But when it comes to the specific knowledge of what facility would be best in their particular circumstance, getting these people, say, assessed to determine what medical needs or what needs they might need, that's where we find companies like yours, and yours in particular, just invaluable for helping us serve our clients.
Yes, we have a brochure that is in the community. It's actually brand new. It's coming out in just a week for all 5 counties. In it has, I found something really valuable on it. It talks about kind of the order of what we do, and it's providing options for families, which is the housing needs you just talked about, caregiving needs, assessing the individual, which really comes first, but a lot of people call us because they want the options. So then we want to assess them. And finally, it's the planning piece. What are we going to do long term? And is it a viable, affordable option?
Great. And it's so nice to know that there are people out there like you that do this, in terms of people can feel so vulnerable and overwhelmed in these situations, whether it's crisis or pre-planning. One thing I found, and you have probably found as well, is in the area of senior care or elder law or whatever topic or name we want to apply to it, is finding valuable information.
Right.
is difficult to do. We're used to a society where if we want a particular product or service, we go to door A and go through that.
Right.
Well, in senior care, dealing with elders, depending on your circumstance, there is no one-stop shop, if you will, to find that. And that's, again, where your company comes in and is so valuable, because there are so many options, and depending upon the answers to all of the questions that you get presented with determines, where we can access that system.
One thing I would say is our senior living advisors, they are geographically located. It's wonderful because they are aware of the most recent local and affordable options. So that is great, but what I think is really the key is that they also know the individuals. And one of my favorite stories is one of the clients I placed probably 7 years ago now. He is an avid cribbage player and a fisherman. And when they shared that piece of the story, I was able to clinically plug him into the right type of facility. But I also was very aware of another avid cribbage player fisherman, and guess what? Those two visit every day and play cribbage, and one of them started getting dementia, more and more confused, but they were still able to play cribbage and talk about fishing. And so to me, that is the quality of life. It's important because our job is to make sure that they're clinically, medically safe and it's the right fit, but that really quality of life is about what the activities are, what's going to touch their heart. And so that is what I think what we really set apart. I should also mention anything on the referral agency side is at no cost to our families. It's compensated through the facilities, much like a realtor is compensated in the housing market, and it does not affect the cost of care. It's the way that it works. They just use it in their marketing budget.
Oh, super to hear.
Yeah.
Talk about funding. When we talk about, you mentioned where your fees come from.
Right.
But before we get into talking about fees and how that all works, generally from how do you pay for long-term care, I guess is the way we describe that.
Sure.
Let's say you're dealing in a family setting and you have mom is a surviving spouse, for example, and we have 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
Is it difficult to deal with all 3? Do you prefer to deal with one family member? How do you address that?
Well, every family is unique, and it really has its unique own culture. So it's a lot of times it has to do with what we think is going to work best for the individual that we're all speaking of. However, we have always found, even with the challenging family member, which I think all of us have one of those, we want them to be involved as much as possible, because if they're not involved in the process the time when we're doing the planning, at least in some way, they can often sabotage the plan. And if you're watching this, my guess is that you're wondering about something related to this. So we want you, of course, to always remember that family member that might be frustrating for you is a really important person to still get involved. And as a professional, our job is to know that piece of the challenging information and then help direct them and support you, whoever you are watching this.
And from the legal side, we work hard with our clients, both if we're dealing with the seniors or with the family members, to make sure that we have the right documents in place that legally appoint a person, for example, to negotiate with you
yes.
or to speak with you. That's generally done through what we call healthcare power of attorneys or durable general power of attorneys, which name what's called an attorney of fact to act for you. And it's real critical that we have those documents, all of us have those documents, and that we have the people that we want to act for us named in those. It helps not only in working with the family dynamic, but it also helps the person who can no longer make decisions for themselves.
Absolutely.
Have the peace of mind that they have someone that's legally capable of doing that.
Yes, I could probably talk about that as well. As far as competency, that's one of the first things when a family member calls. There's a whole nother process we talk about as far as if we're ever concerned on the decision making. Again, we turf it back to the attorney so that we can make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. And a lot of times, by the time the family has gone down that road, they end up having to make a U-turn and go right back to the beginning so the legal documents are in place. So it's an important part of the puzzle.
Well, Lisa, soon we're going to be doing other video series, and we'll address topics as power of attorneys and what documents you should have, and more of the contractual side of placement or elder care options. And we'll also talk about the type of people in education that you would like to see come to you so that you can be prepared to help meet their needs. Before we wrap up today, though, is there anything you'd like to tell the people of Pierce County?
Well, I'll go back to our phone number, 866-337-1176 for your placement, home care coordination, and care management needs. And you can go to our website and contact us via email there at caycare.com, and there are resources to download there as well.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. Well, thank you. That's the end of the series, or this video for this series, and we want to thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm Bob Michaels with Smith Alling, located in downtown Tacoma. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to give us a call.
Thanks, Bob, for having me.
Thank you.